What's up, everybody? This is another episode of the Retro Breakdown. My name is Razzle. This is another episode of the Gen X Millennial Memes. This is where I just kind of show you some funny memes that made me laugh and made me think about the past, and I read some funny comments. This is a meme that somebody posted. There weren't that many funny comments on it, but it really made me think because I remember this so much. It's Ask Jeeves. It's early internet, you know. We came from a more sophisticated time. I'm aware not all of you get this. And it's Ask Jeeves. Ask Jeeves was one of those search engines like Dogpile. Do you guys remember dogpile.com? Does anybody remember Dogpile? And then Bling or Bing, whatever that Microsoft one was that they tried and then nobody used it. But like AOL, Google, this is like before everybody Google was around, but it wasn't the thing that it is now. There was Prodigy. There was all these different types of internet apps and logins and search engines, and it was so new. And a lot of, there were aggregates, and obviously Google won out, but Ask Jeeves was one of them. Dogpile.com was another one. Yahoo, remember Yahoo? Yahoo had a search function for a minute, and Ask Jeeves was another one because I just remember everybody's like, oh, Ask Jeeves. And I had this weird old clip art Butler that is, it's such a weird, man, early internet was an interesting thing where you had to wait. I remember MTV's old website where you had to wait for it to buffer just to get the links and the pictures. And it would just do the thing. And early internet memes too, back in, and that's a little bit later internet, but E-Bomb's world, old websites. What's your old favorite website? You guys have an old favorite website that you don't go into anymore? I remember Mullets are back right now. Mullets are super popular right now. And I remember in high school, there was a website called mulletsgalore.com. And it was just pictures of mullets and people, they'd have names for it, like the skullet or the femulet. And they just had funny names for mullets. And it was called mulletsgalore.com. It was one of those websites that, if there was an Instagram account, if it was around, it'd be huge. But it was big then without Instagram, and it was just word of mouth. People heard about it, and it was huge. And there was bulletin boards and comments, and people would submit their own mullets. People would submit mullets. And then I haven't thought of that in 20 years. And I've seen more people with mullets these days. And I'm like, oh man, remember mulletsgalore.com? This is a McDonald's ad. This one's Mac Tonight. Do you guys remember Mac Tonight? Buy a Coke in a Mac Tonight cup, yours to keep. Now, first off, I remember Mac Tonight. Mac Tonight was this new mascot that McDonald's had. It was awesome. It was fun. It was cool. It was of a different era. It was just play on Mac the Knife, obviously. Nick at Night it was a very much you didn't have cell phones. You didn't have a lot to do. So, when you're young or you had young parents, they stay home and they watch, 30-something or whatever. They didn't. It was, oh, man, the 80s and 90s were such different times. It really is. We had TGIF. Everybody watched Friday night stuff. Streaming TGIF. We had must-see TV on Thursday nights. We had TGIF on Friday nights. And it was just everybody watching the same things at the same time. And we don't have that anymore. Everybody's got streaming. You watch it when you want. It's such an interesting, it's just weird. It's not weird. I mean, I get it, but it also is there's just something more. It was just such a more community. It was just such the 80s and 90s were just almost a bigger, more of a community almost. Even when you weren't. It just was small town feel, small town vibe, destination. I also don't have a kid. I don't have kids or a family, so maybe people with kids and families are watching the same thing on. Maybe they do have Friday night traditions. If you have a Friday night tradition and you have a family, let me know because I'm curious. Because I don't think my friends with kids in town have Friday night traditions. Let's read some comments for this. Recently figured out the Mac Tonight song is a version of the old German opera song, Mac the Knife. Yeah, the song is Gangster as AF. Yeah, that's what it is. Mac the Knife was also Frank Sinatra and all of that. This person just goes, I was a teenager working at McDonald's when they had those. I would make caramel sundaes in these bad boys. I was also poor, so I would accidentally make a bunch of fries and burgers right before we closed so the manager would let me take the food for my family. The good old days. Man, look at that price too, just 95 cents. And then this person just goes, for the kiddos out there, it says yours to keep. Because before the 90s, a McDonald's employee would come to your house the next day to retrieve the cups. That's way fast. That's why fast food used to be cheaper. I'll tell you though, plastic cups used to be extra. There was a premium for plastic cups. They used to just have like paper or styrofoam, and the plastic cups were a premium. 7-Eleven had the plastic Big Gulp cups, but when they had the Superman cups, it was the same plastic cup, just printed with Superman 4. They printed them with Superman 4 wrapping, and I remember there being a little bit of a upcharge. Plastic cups were the upcharge for the 90s and the 80s. If you wanted a souvenir cup, you paid a little bit extra. And they made it a point to be like, oh, this is a cool collector's item. Although, I mean, I'm sure there are probably people pay. I bet you people are paying $5 for at least magnets. That's a 500% increase. Maybe it is a collector's item. Here's one. What do you miss most? The skating rink, the mall, the skate park, or the arcade? Now, I'm from Michigan, so we didn't have a skating park. We didn't have a skate park. We had a skating rink. We had a roller rink. There's no roller rink in LA. There's a couple of them, or there might only be one now. And anytime you see like a roller rink, a roller skating thing in movies, it's probably the same one up in Glendale over there. It's pretty fun. But again, it's very nostalgia. Like it's very, a lot of people have these theme types of parties. This person just goes, the mall, Music Land, Camelot Music, Walden Books, B. Dalton, swiping the little strawberry candies at Hickory Farms and checking out the naughty merch in the back of Spencer's. Basic human decency and common sense. Oh, and the skate park. What do you miss most? The mall, because I always fell on my ass at the skating rink. The Drinky Bobbers just goes, the mall hands down. I'm totally on board with turning abandoned malls into Gen X retirement homes. That's another meme that I see and a lot of people post, which is a really fun idea because you do have malls. There's a couple malls that got closed down here in LA and they got razed and just destroyed. And I don't know what they're building there. Some of them are abandoned too. Like there's so many. I remember last time I was back home in Michigan, my grandmother and I went to a mall and went to one called the Fashion Square Mall. And that mall, as a kid, that mall seemed massive, and now it's kind of tiny. But still pretty big comparatively. But one of the doors was cracked open, so I snuck in and I walked it. And I haven't been in that mall in maybe 20 years, 25 years. And it was so eerie and wild. And then it used to be booming. They had a fountain malls back in the day when malls would have fountains in the center. And now we have the Grove, which is an outdoor mall here in LA, and there's a fountain in the center. And then we had one called the Bay City Mall, because I'm from Bay City, Michigan, same town Madonna was born in, fun fact. And when that opened, the Fashion Square Mall kind of went, Fashion Square? Maybe Fashion Square is Saginaw. Maybe I don't know the two names. I'm mixing up the other one. What was the other Bay City Mall called? Fashion Square Mall, I think, was Saginaw. But regardless, the other one I went to was then the Bay City Mall opened, and the other one was quiet. And then you go to the Bay City Mall now, and it's empty. It's empty. There's like 4 stores and the movie theater. It's so wild. Malls were such a thing, man. And I don't think they are anymore. Maybe in other states they're big and they're popular during the holidays. I don't know, but even in LA here, man, malls, you see them in the movies. They had so many malls in the movies, and how many movies had a shopping mall scene that was just booming with kids going to hang out, going to work, kids that would have high schoolers would have jobs. Maybe they do know. I don't know. I don't have kids who are in high school, so I don't know if they work at the mall. But what do they do? How can you work at the mall when everybody's buying from Amazon and all these things, and they're closing all these malls, and these malls are abandoned? If there are abandoned malls, I do like the idea of doing some form of multi-purpose something with them for Gen X and Millennials. We're the biggest generations when you collect us together. So what can you do to those that can? What's a pop-up? How can you do a pop-up? How can you do one of these things where you get a bunch of stores or restaurants to just pop up in a mall for a month? That's a lot. It's a lot of money to get Gen X and Millennials to go. Here's another one. Here's one. This reminds me, we never knew what these were called, but every summer we loved them. And it's a bunch of these chalk suckers. This is from Gen X Talks, I believe is the account. And this reminds me of penny stores. 5 and dime candy penny stores. We had one called Chuba's in Michigan, in Bay City, Michigan. Chuba's. And it was one of those tchotchke type of stores where you go in there. They had, I don't know if they had these. They might not have served candy or not. They may have. I can't remember. But they had these types of things where it's like they had just bins of like toys and tchotchkes and trinkets and glues and up. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's a police chopper flying by. I'm filming this out in the garage here. But every small town had one of these stores. It was like, a 5 and dime, 5 cents and a dime, penny type of stores carried over from the 50s and 60s where they had everything you could think of. You needed something weird and random. Chances are this place had it. And it was, ours was called Chubas. And I feel like they sold these types of candies. And this person just goes, they were called Tart Pops. This person just goes, fruit flavored chalk. Because they got your, you look at these, this type of candy is like those orange and black weird things that on Halloween, those old candies that people would give out, the bulk candy at Halloween, and they were garbage and nobody liked them. And these suckers, I know exactly. They just flash me back like PTSD, like a trauma reaction. Another person just calls these lollies. But yeah, that was those chalk candies. I remember so specifically, and the texture. I don't remember the taste. I don't even think they had a taste. They just was a sugar and a weird colored texture. And if I remember correctly too, the stick was hollow. So it was like a hollow plastic stick that actually kind of turned into a whistle, if I remember correctly. Let me know. Did you ever have these growing up? Did you ever have these suckers growing up? Did you have these sticks growing up? And were they hollow? And what did you call them and where did you buy them? Yeah, so those are the memes I got today. Send me memes. If you got memes on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, send me some memes. Tag me in some memes at the Retro Breakdown. And thanks again for watching. And if you're made it this far, watch my other videos. I got some deep dives about some fun things. And keep following this account. If you made it this far, who knows? I don't know what counts as a view or how long yet. But I kind of built this channel again to kind of build a community of Gen X and Millennials because there's emerging. I saw a thread, somebody on Threads posted the other day, like, I never liked being called a millennial. This is for the Xennials. I've never liked being calling a millennial. I learned how to type on a typewriter. I had a dial-up phone, dial-up modems, rotary phone. We had 13 channel. We had cable boxes. Same. So did I. Like 82 is such a weird, then there's people from the 70s who had these things. So like we experienced a lot of the same things as it faded out, So that's kind of who this channel's for. It's for us. It's for the older millennials and Gen Xers, and then the younger millennials who remember some of this stuff as well. But send me all your things. And once again, my name is Razzle, and thanks for watching.